Hi to a new video about Premiere Pro. If you've been on this channel for any time, you might know that I like keyboard shortcuts. I kind of talk about them quite a lot. Now, in all kinds of programs, they are not as interesting as they are with filmmaking. Because in the video editing environment, as well as in the photo editing environment, it is so helpful to have those keyboard shortcuts handy, to not have to do everything with your hand. Because sometimes the tools are just way too complicated to reach with the mouse, instead of having a keyboard shortcut. If you want to get an easy overview of all the shortcuts in Premiere Pro, there is one way you can go about it, and that is by an actual keyboard that is made for Premiere Pro or a skin that is made for Premiere Pro, so you can mod your keyboard to kind of let you know which keyboard shortcuts are where. These kind of mods or skins actually are stickers you can put onto your keyboard, and that way you can easily see which kind of key does what. But I never started using those. I learned my keyboard shortcuts over time, and in this video I want to share a couple of the most important ones with you. To actually do that, let's switch over to the screen, and then I will go over my list, which you will also find in the description below, as well as the link to the playlist where I talk more about all kinds of filmmaking gear, as well as tips and tricks. So let's get right onto the screen and have some fun with keyboard shortcuts. Now, what you can see here is a project that I've been working on about a year ago, and I just opened it up and wanted to kind of go into it and show you a couple of the keyboard shortcuts that I really like and which I'm working on all the time, or which I'm working with all the time. One of the first ones that comes to mind is you have the spacebar for play and pause. So you can hit the spacebar and it plays, and then you can hit the spacebar again and it pauses the video. But for me, one of the most time-saving things that I learned is that you can do the same thing with the key L. And with the key L, you're actually able to have multiple speed levels. So you can hit L once and it plays the video in standard one-time speed. But if you hit it again, it plays the video faster. And if you hit again, it plays the video even faster. Now in this case, this is 2.7K footage. My computer has a little bit of a problem playing back that GoPro footage in 2.7K. So the third speed is actually not something that I use very often, but the second speed level is something that I use continuously, and it works great for faster editing and kind of knowing what footage you're seeing there. Now the second key that is really close to that is K. So you can go with L in normal speed, with K you can pause again, or if you are in double speed you can hit K and it pauses again as well. If you do the same thing with J, it actually does the same thing backwards. So once J will play the clip backwards, twice J will play the clip backwards twice the speed. Those three keys are kind of my way to navigating the movie clip, but there are a couple more ways that I constantly use as well. And those are the arrow keys. So if I'm in the timeline and I hit the arrow key to the right, as you can see, I'm switching frames one by one. So it goes one frame forward. And the same thing works backwards with the left arrow key. Now, if I do the same thing while holding down the shift key, it actually jumps 10 frames. And this kind of 10 frame interval can be changed in the settings for your liking. I personally really like the 10 frames because it essentially gives me about 1 second in 2 clicks. So I have one jump, which is 10 frames, and a second jump, which is another 10 frames. So we are at 20 frames. And if I do one more jump, it's about a little more than a second of footage. So many transitions I use the 10 frames or maybe 20 frames to kind of do those. One more thing in navigating clips and a project is the up and down arrow keys. Those are really handy because they jump to the front or the back of a clip. So if I hit the up arrow key here, I will actually jump to the front of the clip. And if I hit the down arrow key, I will jump to the end of the clip. So I can easily jump between the clips and navigate that way. Now, sometimes it's necessary to actually move a clip around. So we can do that by hitting the command key and then hitting the arrow keys. And as you can see, I'm moving the clip to the right here, and it is actually overwriting the next clip while doing so. The same thing works with the shift key, so we can do command, shift and left, and it jumps 10 frames again. This time it doesn't jump 10 frames from what I'm viewing, it is actually moving the clip around 10 frames at a time. And without the shift key, it actually jumps just 1 frame at a time. But now, what happens with those holes in the video? One easy trick to kind of get rid of those is actually a ripple delete. So we can actually select the area in between and then hit the delete key, and it ripple deletes. So everything is moving one step to the left to actually move this hole, and I do the same thing with the other one. This is something where you have to be cautious with, because, for example, if you cut your stuff to music and you ripple delete somewhere in the beginning of the clip and everything else moves as well, maybe the beat does not fit your video cutting anymore. So you actually have to be pretty cautious about the ripple delete. For me, the ripple delete is something that I use especially in the beginning of a edit. So I have all the footage in my timeline and I go through it and I ripple delete everything, and then I have one big chunk of stuff, and I then kind of sort those clips by quality or kind of time frame when I want to use them, and then I put them together to music. So I never use the ripple delete after I actually have finished kind of the rough cut, and also after I started putting it to music. To actually do that kind of searching for the good stuff, searching for the good parts, putting those together and ripple deleting everything, there are a couple shortcuts that help with that immensely. One thing you have to note here is we have the clips down here, which are blue, and then we have the green one here, which is an adjustment layer that has some Lumetri tools with color grading on them. What we want to do is we don't want to cut the adjustment layer, because I want to use that adjustment layer over all the clips that are down here. So to not affect that, and also if we would have music, for example, we could do the same thing. To not affect the adjustment layer with our cutting and ripple deleting, we can actually lock that area with the small lock in the beginning of this kind of line. Now this adjustment layer is actually locked in place and it will not move around. So what I want to do is I want to go to the beginning, so I hit the up arrow key to go through the beginning of this clip, and then I play it back. And most of the time, as I mentioned, I play it back with the L key pressed twice, so it kind of plays back in double the speed. Now let's say I want to use this kind of clip of the guy crossing over the water. What I can do is select the clip, and I can do Command K, which would cut the clip at this position where I'm at right now. And then I have the front clip selected, which I can delete. And if I want to actually delete the clip with the ripple delete, I actually have to FN, Shift, and delete. So now it actually ripple deleted. On a Mac keyboard, you don't have the delete keys, so that way you have to actually use the FN for the delete key, and to actually have a ripple delete, you have to press FN, Shift, and the delete key. So now we have ripple deleted this, but actually this works much easier in another way. So let's go back to this place where he starts going over the water, and what we can do here is press Q. And what Q basically does is it does exactly what we did before, but just with one press of a button. So if I press Q right now, it actually cuts the clip and ripple deletes it immediately. And that is to the left. The interesting thing about this shortcut is that it works in a different direction as well. So let's say I decided to not use anything after this moment in time in this clip. If I press the W key, which is right next to Q, and those two are close together because those make sense in using them together, then we can see what happens. It is basically the same thing. It cuts the clip and deletes everything after this time. So I clicked this, and as you can see, I can jump from the beginning where he starts walking over the water, and then he starts walking and it's over. So this basically helps me cut much faster, especially if I only want to cut something in the front and get it away, or I want to cut something in the back and just delete this part of the movie basically. Now there are a couple more things we can do with this. For example, we can go into the beginning and we can add some cross dissolve. That is done by Command and D. So now it actually fades in when we play it back and goes to full brightness, and at the end it just cuts normally. The same thing works at the end of a clip as well. But let's remove that again and do something else. The footage I shot here is actually in slow motion, so it's 60 frames per second. But right now you can see that it's not really using any of the slow motion. What we can do here, and that is also something that works with a keyboard shortcut, is that we can go into the clip and do Command and R. Command R actually opens the clip speed and duration interface, and there, let's say we go down to 40%, and we want to ripple edit shift trailing. So in this way, the clip gets actually longer because we slow down the speed, and that way the clip gets longer by it. Now, if we edit this with the ripple edit and shift trailing clips, it moves everything else after this clip backwards basically. So if we hit OK here, you can see that the clip is much longer, and playing it back, it is much smoother and has this kind of dreamy slow motion effect on it. Very easily done with the keyboard shortcut, just Command and R. Another very valuable keyboard shortcut is actually being able to cut everything where you are right now. So for example, let's say we are in this position and I want to cut the adjustment layer and the clip. If I just press K, it will cut the selected clip. Now, if I select both clips and I press Command and K, it actually cuts both of them. But if I have nothing selected, I can still do Command Shift and K, and it will actually cut everything at this position without taking care about anything. The only thing that does not get cut is stuff that is locked. The stuff that is locked basically never gets edited as long as it's locked, and that is really a plus. So that makes it really easy to kind of have the music, for example, locked, because you don't want to cut around in the music or ripple delete the music or something like that. Just keep the track as it is and only edit that if you actually want to edit it. And the Shift Command K is something that is really useful if you have multiple layers over each other and you want to cut through all of them. Another thing that happens regularly to me is that I set some kind of weird in and out points. And those in and out points can be very valuable if you actually want to kind of export your video and just want a certain section, for example, for a test or some. Maybe you want a review from someone who's also in the project. But how do you actually get rid of those in and out points? And I found that pressing Alt and I and Alt and O, so Alt, I-O basically, you basically remove all the in point and out point settings, which makes it really easy to just get rid of the in and out points, have none of those in the video, and that way you are at less risk exporting just that part. And I kind of found those very, very useful. Another thing that I do quite often is that I cut to music with markers. And that is something that I might do a video about specifically, but what I essentially mean is I can put in music here. And what I often will do is I will look and hear the music, and then I can just cut to the music by using those markers to actually see where the beat is. So let's say I want to play this, and then I can just hit M whenever I hear a beat. So let's say duck, duck, duck. So now I have 3 markers which are set in a way that I can actually clip something to it. So let's say I go back and I move this, and as you see, now it actually shows me a marker here as well. So it shows me that I'm at the exact position of the marker. I can cut the video. Let's say I want to remove all this. And as you can see, I accidentally cut the music as well. So let's make that reverse. Lock the music. Go to the point in time where the marker is. Cut everything there. Go to some other place where I say, okay, let's restart the video here. Press Q to ripple delete everything in front of it. Now I'm back at the marker, and now I want to go to the next marker. Now I'm back at the second marker, and what I want to do now is I want to actually remove everything that is after this point in time inside this clip. So I press W, cut everything there, move all the stuff that is after towards here to the marker, and now I can go to the next marker, cut everything, remove the rest. And now, as you can see, we have this, this, and that. And this way it is kind of cut to the music, and it's just playing back at duck, duck, duck. And now you have all 3 of these. Now, one last shortcut I constantly use is the export shortcut. And there I just have to select either a sequence or something inside the media manager. Just hit Command and M, and the export panel will pop open. And I will be talking about the export settings in a future video. But for the most part, if you go into the presets and you go down to YouTube, for example, you can just use the YouTube Full HD here and export quite nicely with that. So that's it about my most used keyboard shortcuts in Premiere Pro. I really was happy after hearing about the L for the faster playback and also the Q and W, because I used those constantly and they made my life so much easier. Because the Q and W especially, you don't have to do Command K to cut the clip, select whatever clip you want, the one before or the one after your current position, and then ripple delete it with FN, Shift and delete. So you don't have to do all these steps, you can just hit Q or W and it deletes everything in front or after your current pointer position. This was a kind of big step for me in video editing, especially in the editing speed, and now I'm able to edit much faster and with more ease, and it's really a good way to kind of get around. Now I'm interested in your most liked keyboard shortcuts in Premiere Pro. What do you use on a constant basis? Please let me know in the comments down below. Also in the description you will find a list of all the keyboard shortcuts that I've been talking about here, and you will also find a video playlist on YouTube where I have all kinds of videos about gear and photo editing and video making. If this video was helpful for you, please leave it a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel for more videos like this almost every day. I will see you in the next video and I hope you can catch some sun rays. It is finally getting warmer here in Germany, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.